Another point that I want to comment on this chart is related to the MNAV. So we crossed to under 1 on November 9, November 10. So we are, let's call it 2 weeks under the water in considering the MNAV, right? But let's get back what happened in history. How many times that actually happened in the last 3 years? I was scrolling here at the beginning of 2023 with Bitcoin at the bottom at 16, MNAV was 0.75. So it remains there for up to here, around a month, climb up, then it goes down again up to here, April 2023. So let's consider we are already 4 months with a negative MNAV. All of this time, MNAV it goes above 1. It's all above 1, except here a little bit for maybe 2 weeks. Keep being up, around 2, 1.9, and keep dropping. So what's my point with this? Along these 3 years, we can count from this curve that we've been under 1 for probably 5 to 6 months in total, out of 36 months. So another way of seeing this is you can see, well, the MNAV collapse, everything is going to zero, Bitcoin is going to zero, strategy going to zero, it will never recover. Or when you zoom out, you realize that this is just a tiny window in an event that took place for 3 years. So my prediction, not financial advice, as usually say, it's that we are going to see this blue line recover somehow. Probably it will take time. It's not going to be in the next month, but eventually we will come back. The red line and the white line will have to be around here, probably around April or May. And when we zoom out again, this point in time, November 2025, will look like just another tiny spot in the history of stock trading.
Hello, this is the Bitcoin Libertarian, and we are back again together, the three, after I think the last time was during the call of Michael Saylor, the strategy call, and many things happened since that day.
In Q3, yes.
But yeah, here I am with Diego and Marco. How are you doing, guys?
Very good, very good. It looks like an atomic bomb happens after that call. It sounds like total disaster.
Yeah, we all said, maybe 240 is the floor. No, 170 might be the floor, and someone now is calling 120 the floor. So hard time for the share price, but overall, I think the strategy is intact. So yeah, we will discuss today, I guess. So
yes, to do a small recap, I had a call the other day, a stream with Andrew Webley from the Smartable company that he loves talking with us. Probably I will try to do in the next stream, probably like together with you guys and him, so we can ask more questions and more interesting questions than the question that I can ask. So, but he's happy with our show, and he talks with the Times, with Daily Mail in UK, and with us. So it's amazing. And he is like
that's a great accomplishment, guys.
Of course. That's what all the work that we put together. So, and he's so like quiet. He doesn't seem like worried. And he said that the strategy hasn't changed. They were building so strong foundations in these months where the stock price is going down, but they keep accumulating Bitcoin. They keep expanding the team, and they are super confident that things are going to come better for next year. And him, and I think that Saylor thinks the same. I think that Gerlovich thinks the same. And I will be speaking on Thursday in Spanish with Alexandre Laisset from Capital B. So it's a little bit of shake, but I think that things are going to go better. What do you think?
I think also Jamie Dimon thinks it's going to be better next year's, considering the products that is about to launch and all the trying to, kind of capitulate strategy and trying to kind of this kind of conspiracy against them, which I think is kind of possible from their side because they want to launch an alternative product, a competitive product. So I think also the bigger banks are kind of bullish and positive or for 2026 forward for Bitcoin. So I think it's everything is aligning.
It looks to me like we reached the point where the big banks are starting to feel threatened by strategy. Obviously, not in a real sense, like still the strategy is not big enough. But it's like a seed. you cannot let them grow bigger, because if they allow strategy keep pulling fiat money and converting it into BTC, and now going into the route of creating these credit products. So that's a direct competition to JP Morgan and the big banks. So maybe it's related to that. What do you think, Marco?
Yeah, I think for sure now all the establishment in the US with the Clarity Act and with the other support from the Congress about crypto legislation and Bitcoin as a legit asset class is now opening the flow also for the traditional big banks that now for sure they want to have a part of the pie, because again we all know that Bitcoin has been the best performing asset for the last 15 years. It probably will be for the next 15. So for sure they want to have a piece inside this new ecosystem, and I think now with this attack to, because also MSCI is the other one index that said that probably they will exclude MicroStrategy, and is from Morgan Stanley. Now JP Morgan is increasing by a lot the requirement for the margin for almost all the product of strategy, even for the preferred, which are like very very limited in volatility, which doesn't seems very aligned with the product, but it's more aligned with the fact that you want to discredit strategy as a whole and try to disincentivize investors to put money into those vehicles, because probably they want to have their own vehicles outside, their all instruments outside. So I think yes, it's not already too big and or like an impediment for them strategy, but I think in just 1 year this ecosystem has grown a lot, and it's one of the most interesting topic in corporate finance and in finance in general, I think. And they are awakened to this point, and they try to fight back, I think. I'm not sure if they will succeed, but for sure most of those banks have multi-billions of funds that they can deploy, and hundreds of millions of already customers that they can redirect to their own products. So I think they will fight. Yeah.
Yes, I
It looks
think
like,
that
it looks like a fight between the legacy system and pure innovation. What strategy did with these preferred stocks? It's purely finance innovation, as it has never been done in the history of Wall Street. It's the first time that we have products like these that are uh, perpetual preferred stocks that are yielding a yield that no other bank can match. So it's away from the traditional finance to fight back. I think it's just about that. It's going to be a very difficult fight for strategy. I'm not saying this is just what it is, and it's going to be easy. It's going to be a big fight, because it's just a fight between two different magnitudes of power, and eventually, I think strategy will prevail, because as long as you keep back by Bitcoin, and you are being so clear with the deployment of the strategy, I think it will succeed in the long run. But it's gonna be probably a couple of rough years.
yes, I think that as you mentioned at the beginning, I don't remember if it was Marco or Diego. Like they trying to stop now because they are a seed. They could. I think that they are learning from their mistakes, that they could have stopped Bitcoin before probably 2014. They didn't pay attention to Bitcoin, and now Bitcoin is destroying the legacy finance. So I think that talking in an expression that we talk with Diego, I think that JP Morgan doesn't want the turtle to escape. This is an expression that we say. Let me try to explain in English. Well, this was invented by Diego Maradona, and talk about let the turtle escape is like to miss an opportunity, but being super stupid. Like an opportunity that is there, like it's there and it's easy. So I think that the banks are they are aware that if strategy grows, it will become a bank and it will steal all the banking business. So it's coming a big fight. A strategy, I think, will win at the end. But again, I agree with you that it's going to be tough.
It's also I mean, they are jumping into the fight right now because they realize that maybe at the beginning strategy was a little bit cute, small company trying to play this Bitcoin game. Now they realize the game they are trying to play, it's for those 300 trillion of the bond market and the money market, but basically, which is huge. So that is the target. I think Saylor also say in the call something like, we're going for everything. Like they actually want to be a massive company. So they are not anymore that cute, a small company playing the Bitcoin game. Now they are going for the big for the big money, and that's why JP Morgan and the rest will try to fight back.
And guys, can I say why for me now it's very clear that the last year Sailor smashed the ATM so violently is because he knew that bigger banks and bigger players were about to enter. They are much slower probably than strategy and this new company. So they are slower in their bureaucratic process in the chain of command. So for me, it was clear that he knew that in 2025 or 2026 or even in 2027, those banks wants to enter and eat the pie. And he said, no, we have to just front run them. He started with the 21 plan and then 42 plan because he knew that he need to create this war chest of Bitcoin in the balance sheet, because the more balance sheet you have before this news, the better. Because at the end of the day, it's a kind of monopolistic place in the market today with 3 point something% of the supply. And now I think it's very clear why he smashed so strongly the ATM, because it was a massive opportunity to capitalize before all the others. And I think this will pay out over the next years. Maybe now we are suffering this because it creates a lot of new shares. And if you don't have enough demand, you might have this kind of price that is not as we intend it to be. But he has this strategy for like 20 years, 50 years. So in his mind, it makes total sense to smash the ATM by billions and tens of billions last year because of this news, because of these events that are coming soon.
Yeah, I don't think the thing with the ATM that create a lot of noise in the Bitcoin and strategy community, I still don't understand why is that a big problem for some people. At the end of the day, you are still warranting that you will have more Bitcoin per share. So every time, let's see if we can come back to that to the graph that we have about strategy where we can illustrate that.
Yes.
Wait a minute, I'm trying to find the share.
Okay. I think that Sailor is like Diego knows. Diego is a good chess player. So when you are in this position, it's like playing chess. You need to get over the competitor by thinking ahead what movements to do in the different scenarios that can happen. So
Yeah, so let's recap a little bit with the data here. So the last time we met, I think that was with Bitcoin around here, around 110K, right? So at that point, we said that the floor for the stock price would be around 240, because that's the with the Bitcoin at 110K,
The 1M now, yeah.
247, as it says here, should be the floor if we have MNAV1. Now, obviously, that's a moving floor. It's not. It wasn't a fixed floor. If the price of Bitcoin would have remained at the 110K up to now, the floor would probably still be 240. Problem is, we dropped from 110 to 80, now back to 90. So now, obviously, that floor also moves down to, as of today, should be 190. So we are still trading at MNAV 090 as per our calculations, even though in the strategy side says 1.1 or something like that, because it's considering a slightly different calculation. But we are totally undervalued. And the point with the issuance of shares that was massive, as Marco was talking, around all this time where MNAV was 2, it was making total sense, because basically you are exploring that arbitrage by issuing the shares with MNAV2 and buying back the Bitcoin at 1. So you were actually making money at that time. Now with MNAV1 you can do that, but you can do the opposite, as we talked in the last show. At MNAV 090, you can literally start taking shares out of the system to bring that Bitcoin yield up again, and to eventually bring also the price of the stock up, as you are reducing the amount of shares in the system. So it's a both sides game. I'm not sure if that's going to be Sailor's strategy coming forward, but it's over there.
Yeah. My point was just that for me, it was total sense that he was capitalizing the arbitrage. That's what we signed when we buy strategy as a shareholder. My point is that these 20 billion of new issuance of shares now, after 1 year, that there is depression on them now, when the narrative starts to go on the other side, because you have this other player and you have this cohort of new investors that are relatively new to the stock, they might capitulate because they didn't understand what's happening here. So that's why it's kind of putting even more pressure on strategy itself in the short term. But I'm very confident that over the long run, this massive capitalization of 1.5 to 2.5x MNAV, they will take a lot of advantage for it. And we already see with the preferred, without this insane capital that they accumulated, they couldn't be able to do this preferred in size of billions that we witnessed in 2025. So I think we just need to suffer a little bit more. We need to see, probably also going to the next point of the conversation today, if Bitcoin is entering a bear market or if it's a bounce. It's still not clear for the market. So yeah, we need to wait probably the end of this year and the beginning Q1 of 26 to have a clearer picture of the general sentiment.
Yeah, and another point that I want to comment on this chart is related to the MNAV. So we crossed to under 1 on November 9, November 10. So we are, let's call it 2 weeks under the water, in considering the MNAV, right? But let's get back what happened in history. How many times that actually happened in the last 3 years? I was scrolling here at the beginning of 2023, with Bitcoin at the bottom at 16, the MNAV was 0.75. So it remains there for up to here, around a month, climb up, then it goes down again, up to here, April 2023. So let's consider we are already 4 months with a negative MNAV. All of this time, MNAV it goes above 1, It's all above one, except here a little bit for maybe 2 weeks. Keep being up around 2, 1.9, 1.9, and keep dropping. So what's my point with this? Along these 3 years, we can count from this curve that we've been under one for probably 5 to 6 months in total, out of 36 months. So another way of seeing this is you can see, well, the MNAV collapse, everything is going to zero, Bitcoin is going to zero, strategy going to zero, it will never recover. Or when you zoom out, you realize that this is just a tiny window in an event that took place for 3 years. So my prediction, not financial advice, as usually say, it's that we are going to see this blue line recover somehow, probably. It will take time. It's not going to be in the next month, but eventually we will come back. The red line and the white line will have to be around here, probably in around April or May. And when we zoom out again, this point in time, November 2025, will look like just another tiny spot in the history of stock trading.
Yeah,
and
me personally, I agree that the market, probably most of the market still think that the 4-year cycle is intact. That's why October was the peak, and we will go down to, I don't know, 50,000 BTC, and so probably strategy will suffer much, much more until next year. So we have to understand, Bitcoin has to understand what's ahead, if it's a bear market or not. For me, it's no. But again, I'm just one tiny, small fish in the market, so we as a collective unity, we need to understand what's happening. So Fernando, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
yes, and now as Diego said, no financial advice. These are the moments when the wealth is made. So when strategy is under performing MNAV under one, when all the people, all the analysts say that strategy is dead, it's gonna go to zero, it's gonna go bankrupt. Now is the time where the money is made. So no financial advice, but if you are thinking entering to the space, this is the moment, and not when it's when it's 400. So again, no financial advice.
Yeah. So should we jump into is Bitcoin 4-year cycle still alive or?
Yeah, that's the question that I want to ask to bring the second topic is last week we were in 80, Bitcoin was going to zero, and I was about to go to live to the street, and now is jumped over 90. Yesterday was around 93. The question that everyone is doing now is this a recover or this is a dead cat bounce?
I go first.
Marco should.
So yeah, for me, I'm saying like for probably the last year that to me it seems like a elongated cycle, so a much longer cycle than what we used to see in the past. To me, it's like the 4-year cycle is not relevant anymore for the halving, because now the halving is the minimum the impact on Bitcoin, on the economics effect of for miners and the new supply entering the Bitcoin, demand and supply. So for me, it's not relevant anymore. And on the macro side, considering that now Bitcoin has become a macro asset, and it has been recognized from almost everyone in the financial markets that Bitcoin is a macro asset now. It's behaving following liquidity, following interest rate, following the general sentiment on the economy, mainly in the U.S. economy, because it's the largest and most financialized economy on the planet. So again, if we see what the Fed is about to do is stopping the quantitative tightening, so the balance sheet is on the all-time low if we consider the last 1 year and a half, and by the next year it should start to increase, meaning putting more liquidity inside the banking system, and then by an extension into the financial market. And normally it's positive for risk on asset. Then also the interest rate has been very high for the last 1 year and a half. probably they need to drop between probably 100 and 100 basis point next year. So only for those two reasons, I don't think the 4-year cycle makes much sense. We are much more similar of 2019 pre-COVID crash than on the 2017 or 2013 when we had the blow-off top for Bitcoin. So for me, the 4-year cycle is no longer in place, but we still need to wait 3 to 6 months that everyone on the market will realize that is not effective anymore.
Well, my question was why this narrative of the 4-year cycle became so dominant. Not only
Because it's easy.
yeah,
It's
not
easy, and we had 3 statistical points, so people likes this.
not only in the Bitcoin community. Obviously, the shitcoiners also talk a lot about the 4-year cycles, and even when someone is interviewed in mainstream media, someone will ask about the cycles. So the easy point, as Marco you point out, is because of the 4-year halving cycle. Right? So it could make sense. Now, my consideration was that how important is this reduction on the amount of Bitcoin per day after each cycle compared to the inflows of money coming in and out of the system in these last years. So probably when the whole system was a lot smaller, the market cap was, I don't know, 100 billion or something like that, 20x smaller, then maybe that was relevant because you don't have so many inflows coming in, and then a cut on the supply of Bitcoin could create this impact on the price. Now, years later, with the asset growing up to 2 trillions, there are different dynamics like the ETF, governments, sovereign funds, companies acquiring Bitcoin, inflows coming in and coming out from corporate levels. Also, all the trading activity from whales that have stuck Bitcoin for years and now eventually will move. So to me, that looks like is a big sea of water compared to a tiny river, maybe that can move the price. So when I try to adopt this view of the 4 years halving can actually affect the price that much when you have on the other hand such a big volume of flows and trading activity. So that's what this means. The one of the theories about the cycles. The other one is that effectively, if we end up this year at around 90K, the year will end up negative. So that effectively cancel the idea of the 4-year cycle because this one should have been positive. It could mean that the bear market started 1 year earlier. You see how everything can be manipulated in whatever narrative you want to have. I can say, if we end up December at 90K, I can say, well, the bear market was 2025.
In gold term, it was a brutal bear market. Yes, 2025. On gold terms, it was a brutal bear market. Yes.
Right. So, or maybe we just leapfrog a little bit more and end up around 100K, turning 2025 in a tiny positive year. And then the bears will say, well, now it's coming, the bear market in 2026. But if you allow that to be in 2025, the bears will have to say that 2026 is going to be better because the bear market already passed. It's just a narrative of things that, to me, doesn't make much sense. I think we are just at the wheel of the inflows of big capital into the system, and the 4-year cycle is dead.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. I totally agree. I am saying that the 4-year cycle is over for months, and I keep saying this. Would have been good if one of us was sit in this round table at La VidConf, where all the ghosts and the smoke sellers were talking about the bear market, that next year it's going to be 50, 60 or something. Again, for me, is clear. Let's see what happens. And we are seeing since the beginning in this, let's call it cycle, we had an all-time high before the halving. So that for me invalidates everything. Our friend Porkopolis says that we need to wait until when? Until December or January? I don't remember.
You say let's wait 3 or 4 months
I
of
agree.
more data to call it the end of the
Yeah.
bear market. And yeah, he might be right on that.
Again, for all the shitcoiners and for all these guys who are on YouTube talking about trading, talking about technical analysis and all this astrological crap, I think that is good because they sell this sell views. They have a lot of views. They make money, and if they are wrong, they will say, "Oh no, because here the line is different, and the line you need to put this with this and the other thing," and they will adapt the narrative. But again, for me, we are not, and what I believe is not like what I believe and what I see on the graphics and when I see on the macro what is happening. I think we are not going to have a bear market. We are in a bull market, in a perpetual bull market, or like Bitcoin growing following the power law. There will be corrections like what happened now. It's dropped 35%, but is going to recover. So we are not going to see like 2 years of the price going down, touching and rebounding and reach for another all-time high. That's my point.
Diego, sorry, can I share my screen for 1 second?
Yeah,
Just
sure.
because it's very funny, one thing. Because I posted this like a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. That is very, very stupid and basic math. So, I mean, it's just to give an idea. But right now that we are discussing, Bitcoin is trading at $90,520. This is the very basic math and basic computation of the inflation, of the debasement of the money supply globally, which Safedin and others think is around 7%. I just took the top of 69,000 in November 2021. I just did the basic formula for understanding the compounding effect of this inflation. And it gives that Bitcoin should be only based on the expansion of the monetary base at 90,444, which is $50 less than what we are trading now. So for me, it's simply Bitcoin is just where it's supposed to be. Then
Yeah,
if
it's a
we
power law.
yeah, it's like perfectly matching what's the volume of all the money, all the crap that is around. This is a very basic math. And again, if we see that in the future the Federal Reserve, the ECB in Europe, and the other central banks are pumping money, are doing QE again, are reducing the interest rates, the general sentiment will be better. Retail will show up, companies will keep buying, and all what we should expect. For sure, Bitcoin will move much higher. But again, we are on the trend. So one is the power law trend, another one is just basic computation from the previous top. November after 4 years, 90,444 is $100 off of what we are today. So again, for me, it's not okay. It's not great to be at 90 when we were at 126, but at the end of the day, nothing is particularly bad. So just a funny math. So I wanted to share.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to show it based on the expansion of the money supply. But on the other hand, let me pull back a little bit on that theory, which is something that Matthew Porkopoulos was talking about. If the price of Bitcoin could be reflected only because of the expansion of the money supply, Bitcoin could be an exponential, very similar to what happened with the S&P, with the 7% compound annual growth. But it's not like that when you take the whole history. So it's better that it doesn't behave like that.
Maybe it can be the floor. Maybe it can be the floor. So you cannot compress much more than this one because it's the natural floor, and then you have the higher increase because of all the other factors.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. It could be like the MNAV of strategy. The floor could be the expansion of the money supply, which is that 7-8%. And on top of that, because Bitcoin behave as a network and is growing as a power law, currently at the 40% compound annual growth. Now, for people who don't know how to read these things, someone might say, well, but actually this year we didn't grow. We are negative. So what are you talking about the 40%? Because it is a 40% compound annual growth counting from years back, not this year alone, right? So what it means, if 2025 was, to me, the bear market, we remain flat. Eventually, maybe in 2 years, Bitcoin experience an 80 or 100% pump, which will compensate for the theoretical 40% compound annual growth that the Power Law is predicting. But yeah, that's an interesting point. We can take the floor. It's the expansion of the money supply. But that's what I mean. It's easier to explain it with gold. If you, I don't have it in that graph, but when you trace the trend of the gold, it's just an exponential. It's a straight line going up. And it's because of all these external unnatural influences like expansion of money supply, China buying gold now aggressively because of a movement or placement of the American treasuries into gold. So when things like that happen, that are not natural events, but it's just sequences of decisions from governments or from the central banks, then you see these upper trend lines as exponentials that are not sustainable in the long term. So it's better that Bitcoin keeps a little bit different from that, and eventually it will get back to what it has to be.
Yes, I think so. And talking about the inflows, we were talking about the money that is coming, that we are not only in the past cycles, there was only the retail. Now we have big companies, we have ETFs, and we have now countries and states going into Bitcoin. So we heard in the last weeks that Luxembourg is going to allocate 1% into Bitcoin, and Texas just bought 10 million in Bitcoin ETF.
Yeah, I think it's great news. So Luxembourg, I'm very close to it because I worked in Luxembourg for 4 years until 2024, before deciding to leave the country and leave my previous job. But yeah, that's another story. But yeah, it's in Europe. It's by far the most open-minded, the most financialized country that we have in Europe by far. So I was in Amsterdam for the Bitcoin Amsterdam conference in November, and the Minister of Finance of Luxembourg showed up for a panel, and he said, like, for 20 minutes that Bitcoin is great, that Bitcoin is, he was like talking like us. It's like, it was orange pill by someone, I don't know by who, but was a great speech. In the end, he started to say, some kind of crap because, I mean, it's still a EU country, so you need to onboard with the CBDC, some kind of stuff. But 85 and 90% of the discussion was on Bitcoin only. And Luxembourg started to, announced that they will allocate 1% of their sovereign fund. I can also share here the news directly from the Luxembourg for Finance website. They will that's starting for 2026. The Luxembourg Intergenerational Sovereign Fund has a 1% allocation in Bitcoin. Of the new investment policy, which allows the fund to allocate up to 15% of its assets in alternative investments. So, of course, it's not much. Again, Luxembourg is a very tiny country, but still, it's a message that not only is Bitcoin is great, they put Bitcoin in their own sovereign wealth fund. And I think it's positive because, again, Luxembourg is the central hub, one of the central hub of Europe. And alongside also Czech Republic, that they want to add Bitcoin for the central bank of Czech Republic. I think maybe the narrative is slowly shifting or started to have another narrative also in Europe, which I think is positive. So yeah, I think it's great. It's still very tiny, still very not relevant, but it's a seed, another seed, as Diego mentioned before. And in this kind of new asset and new theory, planting a seed is very important.
Yeah, I read that they are going to allocate through ETF to avoid risk or something. So,
Yeah.
okay.
I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense. ETF for states, kind of.
What is the difference between Luxembourg and Liechtenstein?
I mean, they're very different. I mean, Luxembourg is a pretty. I mean, compared to Liechtenstein, is much bigger. First, Luxembourg is the hub for all the banking and headquarters for like multinational company that has some fiscal advantage in Luxembourg. It's geographically is very interested because it's between France, Germany, Belgium. It's like also close to Switzerland. Is in the center of Europe. It has become a hub also for all the logistics. The Amazon headquarters for Europe is in Luxembourg. PayPal Holdings is in Luxembourg. A lot of companies, both on the logistic but also on the banking and financial side. So, and I think Luxembourg is like the fifth holders of U.S. Treasuries, which is insane because Luxembourg is like super tiny, but is a juggernaut for the financial ecosystem. All the kind of venture capital of Europe is in Luxembourg. It's a booming economy. It's like the highest GDP per capita of Europe. It's very unique. It has his own, cons, but has a lot of pros. So for like a young kind of people in finance, it's a very good ecosystem to grow. Very high salary, very good condition of working. It's very it's similar to Switzerland, but it's in the EU.
Yeah, because we've been
Interesting.
in Liechtenstein for 3 hours, I think, and
I think, and we discovered all the country in just 3 hours.
No, Luxembourg is much bigger. It's like 600,000 people, maybe with all the expats. I mean, the people that comes to work from the neighbor country can go to 1 million. But again, it's a very unique country. It's a beautiful country, a lot of nature, a lot of forest. It's a lot of naturalistic place, and it's only driven by finance, law, and business. So it's interesting.
now that you mentioned, sorry, I'm going to jump into a different topic, but it reminds me when you mentioned about the U.S. Treasuries, there was a news this week about a negative news about Tether. It was negatively rated by someone. I can't recall
S&P.
the
I
S&P.
think S&P, yeah. I think it was downgraded, kind of, because they have too much gold and too much Bitcoin.
The report was like, you have too much gold and Bitcoin, and it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, let me try to see also the tweet from Paolo.
Yeah, the answer from him was great, but let's recall it.
Yeah, it was a great reply.
Yeah, the thing is that they have gold and they have Bitcoin because and because they have. I think that the gold I understand because they have the tokenized gold, and they
And
they
also
must have gold.
they have more U.S. treasuries than most of the countries, other countries. I mean, other central banks.
Yeah, I think Paolo nailed in the head the problem. So the S&P and all the traditional finance have a framework in mind to assess companies, to assess what's right, what's wrong, and is based on something like prior to Bitcoin. So I think their models are built from 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s, and they are no longer, kind of best in class or updated for the new digital ecosystem. And I think he pointed out in those lines perfectly well. I mean, Tether instead built the first overcapitalized company in the financial industry with no toxic reserves, and yet is and remains extremely profitable. Tether is living proof that the traditional financial system is so broken that it's becoming feared by the emperors with no clothes. Also poetical. So
Awesome.
Yes, we saw his speech. I was a little bit hesitant with Tether and with the centralized stable coins, but when I saw his speech on Lugano and the speech he did talking about the future and his energy that is putting towards the centralized world and all this legacy system, not only in the banking, in internet, in AI. I say that he probably will be the next Elon Musk.
I've been a fanboy of Sailor since 2020. I've been a fanboy of Elon Musk since ever. I'm becoming a fanboy of Paolo since this year. This guy is gonna be great for humanity.
I mean, me, I love him because first, he's Italian, and it has been treated very, very poorly by all the Europe and most of Italians. No idea of what he's doing. Tether is again the most profitable company probably globally, for sure by employees, the most profitable company. And again, the propaganda machine is so in power still that they can say that this is a problem. I mean, they generate billions, they can buy gold, Bitcoin, and they are like 16 holders of US Treasury. They are larger than most state. Tether owns more US Treasury than Italy, which I think is good that Italy doesn't own much of the US Treasury, but still it's much, much bigger than most state. They have the last month, Tether has been the largest purchaser of gold globally, even more than the People Bank of China. They owns more than 100,000 Bitcoin. They have super profitable. They are a tech company. They are investing in mining. They are investing in AI. They are investing in Rumble. They are investing in a large ecosystem, and they help hundreds of millions of unbanked people to have access to dollars, which again, I would prefer they go directly to Bitcoin by understand real life, understand the real problem of people. And if you are in a third world country or fourth world country, it's much better to have US dollars than your own currency. You can have a bank in the digital space, and Tether is helping to create this ecosystem. So again, it's too good to be true, and the traditional space, they hate them. They don't like them because they are proving to the world that you can do banking without fractional reserve. You can do banking without toxic reserves, and you can have a different paradigm based on Bitcoin and gold. So Paul is a genius of our time, and with more years, I think more people will recognize his greatness, because again, it also started Bitfinex, the first exchange. He really is in Bitcoin for probably more than 12 years now, 13 years. And he's always
Yeah,
been a Bitcoiner first.
and he supports President Milei, so this is good. It's not like saving.
Another thing that I was randomly checking now that we're talking about Italy, gold, Paolo, Bitcoin. Italy, it's strangely to me the top three holder of gold. Am I
Third,
correct?
yes. After US, Germany, there is Italy, yes.
Holy shit! How did it happen?
But I mean, Italy has been like a superpower for all the mid 1,800 until probably the Second World War. Italy has been like top 4 or 5 country in terms of GDP, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of military, in terms of a lot of things.
But this
And the
is
problem is
Roman Empire inheritance.
A
kind
lot of
of
churches.
a lot
Probably a
a
lot
lot
of
of
Catholic
churches.
churches.
Yeah, a lot of money. Yeah, we have the Vatican, which is probably the most powerful country within Rome. So yes, but the problem is that this gold is mostly held by the in Fort Knox and from the New York Fed. So it's no longer in our possession.
It's not there.
Like almost all gold from a European country, because after the New Deal in 1933 and with the Nixon shock, the US centralized all the gold, and they said, yeah, don't worry, we keep the gold and you can have the convertibility into dollars, that then the dollars was convertible in gold. I think this was Bretton Woods in 1944. But again, now Italy has a lot of gold, but it's not your keys, not your gold, kind of,
Yeah,
no?
probably it's not
So,
gold. They are bricks painted in gold. And this is the Bretton
yeah.
Woods was an amazing scam that the US government did. So
You know,
Yeah.
this meme, this Bitcoin meme, the money in your bank is not money, is not there, is not yours. Well, similar applies to your
Yeah.
gold in Fort Knox is not gold, is not there, and is not yours.
I say that the day that they audit Fort Knox, they will find bricks painted with
Painted.
golden
Yes.
with golden paint. So guys, anything else you want to add?
Not from my side. I think we cover quite a lot, wide range of topics today.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's wait
And
for the bull market again.
let's see what happens next week. I have one bullish signal.
Please share it. Please
this
share
is
it.
my signal. We have a friend. He's from Switzerland, and somewhere when we met, Bitcoin price goes up, and now we are not meet.
Marry him, Fernando.
When we travel to Switzerland, he was not in Switzerland, but the price went up. Was 116. Then it went down, and now he's coming to Bangkok. So it's gonna be like 2 hours flight from here. So we are not gonna go up until up to a new all-time high, but 105 probably. Let's see.
Not a strong pump.
Yeah.
We have
Book
to
a flight and go to Bangkok, please.
But this is a shitty theory that I have in my head. So because everything started last year when he was here, and we were drinking champagne and smoking cigars in a rooftop, and at this exactly moment, Bitcoin touched the all-time high. So since then, we say that when he comes, it's an all-time high, but nothing never happened. So it's this theory. So let's see. So guys, Diego, I'm not going to ask you for your social media because it's the Bitcoin _ and the Bitcoin ESP _ Marco, what is your social media so people can contact you?
Battistoshi93 on X. Very
Excellent.
Very lean.
So guys, have a great weekend. See you next week, and let's see what happens. These times are super funny, as I said. Probably in 2, 3, 4 years, we are gonna remember this time, and we are gonna laugh at that. So let's see what happens. So guys, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who is on the other side. If you like the episode, give us a like, subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media. We don't ask for money. We don't ask for Bitcoin. Just with a like, with a comment, with sharing the episode, you help us a lot in our quest of painting the world of orange. See you in the next episode. Share this episode with the people you love. Share this episode with the people you hate, because we must reach 8 billion people and give them the orange pill. See you in the next episode of our podcast. Stay humble, stack sats, and remember, we are all Satoshi. And that's all for today. If you like the episode, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media. Our X account is the Bitcoin _. Our YouTube channel is the Libertarian BTC. Our YouTube channel in Spanish is Libertarian BTC ESP. Our Patreon, the Bitcoin Libertarian. Our Instagram, the Bitcoin Libertarian. That's all. You can go there and follow us in all our social media.